2017 has been hit or miss for Dragon Ball Super in general. The show definitely improved and is seeking for a much better year in the next one. But here today we are going to discuss that one thing which turned around this show and really changed everything. Today we are going to talk about Dragon Ball Super Special Episode or 109 and 110 as it was sent to streaming sites like Crunchyroll, etc. 27 August was the date in which Toei Animation decided to release their mini preview for One Piece and Dragon Ball Super Special episodes, which were going to air in 1st and respectively 8th October. In that preview, Toei decided not to show anything but Goku's new transformation. Everything else was taken just from that open, and fans were really worried about this episode and the fact that Toei has nothing ready for it. People were starting to question it, why they don't release any kind of footage, so it was really worrying. But weeks passed and it was time for the episode to come. Toei all the time made sure that the hype gathering this special episode was there. They even went as far as releasing 2 previews for it. Stay here with us because you will witness something special. That was basically Toei's message for us. 8th October came and that is the day where internet blew up. Everyone was excited about this episode airing and that is thanks to Toei's great management. They were really prepared for this. Dragon Ball fans all around the world were waiting for this episode, and sites like Crunchyroll, Funimation were actually down and they did not work thanks to people already there waiting for the episode to air. The internet was a mess that night, and for a huge reason. Dragon Ball Super episode 109 and 110 or the special episode aired on Fuji TV as one whole episode, and you can find that in a Funimation as well. And things done on that episode were truly remarkable and the setting foot for a great episode that followed it onwards. Let's break down episode 109 at first and we will continue with the big one, episode 110. Dragon Ball Super episode 109 script was written by Hiroshi Yamaguchi. Hiroshi Yamaguchi is very new to Dragon Ball Super and has been introduced to the show in episode 96, which was very crucial episode to get things started. Episode 96 is the episode where every universe is gathered in a world of void. You can clearly see that it has a very good writing on that. And you can see that Hiroshi Yamaguchi is very good at writing such stuff. And of course, one thing that really did nail there was a meeting between Frieza and Frost as well as Goku seeing Jiren for the first time. And let's not forget him portraying, or better said nailing, Daishin Kong's character as well as the fight from the Gods of Destruction that were not participating on the tournament. But only 5 episodes later, Hiroshi Yamaguchi was put on the task of writing Dragon Ball Super episode 101, which is the episode that was mostly based on the Pride Troop. This episode came right after a disaster episode in 100, but he really could have done much better with this episode. While only working in 2 episodes, he was given the task to write Dragon Ball Super episode 109. You can see that Toei did still trust him to bring the best out of this episode, and we can all agree with the fact that this man did deliver. Dragon Ball Super episode 109 had one problem, which was the slow start. The moment that we got past that moment, the pacing of the episode was perfect. It could have not been done better. He wrote the episode just the way you want to see a special episode. His way of writing Jiren is actually unbelievable. He managed to hype him up perfectly well while not taking the spotlight out of Goku. This episode was truly remarkable, and if this was just a separate episode, it wasn't coming as a special episode or anything like that, people would be blowing their minds off on how well the writing was. Definitely he should get a massive credit for the job he did in episode 109, and he really did a perfect build up for the climax, which was going to be episode 110. It is very hard to do that stuff. It is very hard to build it up. And credits should not be taken away from Hiroshi Yamaguchi, who did an exceptional job. But still, episode 109 wasn't the last episode that this guy wrote. Episode 114, which also was a pretty average episode when it comes to writing, was done by this man. But that episode was saved by Yuya Takahashi's unbelievable animation. And the last episode this guy has worked on is episode 118, which is one hell of an episode when it comes to writing. He definitely nailed that episode, which was the erasure of Universe 6 and Universe 2. Storyboard was done by Kazuya Karasawa. Unlike Hiroshi Yamaguchi, Kazuya Karasawa has been on Dragon Ball Super for way longer. Kazuya Kurosawa was in charge of storyboarding episode 109 as well as the episode director. Kazuya Kurosawa's first episode as storyboarder and director with Dragon Ball Super is episode 35, which included the fight of Vegeta vs Frost, which was the first portion of the episode, and Vegeta vs Mageta, which was the second. In Tournament of Power, his only episode before this was episode 100, but after episode 109, he did work for another 2 episodes, which are Dragon Ball Super episode 113 and 117. In overall, he is very good, and just like the same thing as for the writing, his job was amazing, and just hats off to these guys. As for Animation Supervisor, we had 3, Tsumo Ono, Shuichiro Manabe and Yoichi Onishi. Tsumo Ono was first introduced to Dragon Ball Super in episode 68, but in Tournament of Power his first work was episode 101, while after that he was in charge of episode 119, and of course we are already talking about episode 109. His involvement with the show is not that heavy, but still he does work and he is pretty good. While on the other side, Shuichiro Manabe has been on the show ever since episode 6, and his involvement with the show is huge. On Tournament of Power he has worked in episode 98, where he was an assistant supervisor. Then he immediately on episode 101, where he was animation supervisor as well as key animator. Then again working for episode 105, where he was key animator to reach this huge episode as supervisor as well as key animator. That did not stop him, as he returned immediately in episode 113 doing key animation, and 116 where he was key animator as well as supervisor. He is a very efficient and someone really good to have on the show, and this really tells you all. But Yoichi Onishi has been with Dragon Ball ever since Dragon Ball Z was still airing, making his debut on 1992 as key animator, but he only worked for 2 episodes in Dragon Ball Z before jumping to Dr. Slump. He returned in Dragon Ball Battle Set on Super, where he has worked on episode 102 as supervisor, episode 106 as assistant supervisor, and finally got to be a supervisor in episode 109. But you might think that his work for the special episode was done in 109, but no, he also was a supervisor for episode 110 as well as 116. Despite not really working that much on this show, Onishi has been really busy on this arc, showing how much an effort Toei is putting here. So now let's just move on with Dragon Ball Super episode 110, which is going to be really great to talk about. The responsibility for writing the script for the absolute best episode of the series was given to Atsuhiro Tomioka. He is a regular in Dragon Ball Super now, being responsible for many episodes, and his debut as a writer on the show was in the Goku Black Hole. He has been involved in many episodes of Dragon Ball Super, being responsible for the beginning of Goku Black Arc as well as the ending. He has written episode 47, which was the introduction of Goku Black. He continued with episode 48, 49, 50, 51, and then jumped up to 55, 58, 16, 61, 65, 66 and 67, while on Tournament of Power he has written episode 97, then jumped straight off to episode 110, then 111, and the last episode he wrote was episode 116. As you can see, Atsuhiro Tomioka is very trusted when it comes to writing, and Toei gives him many episodes in a row in order to keep consistency from episode to episode. And let's not forget that this man is involved with One Piece as well. He is one of the Toei's best, despite making quite some questionable decisions, especially on the Goku Black arc at the ending, which was handed to him, and he really screwed it up. But he has done a very good job on Tournament of Power, and he is responsible for writing the best episodes of the entire show up until now. Probably 2 best episodes have been written by him, and them being episode 47 and 110, which are my 2 absolute favorites. The man responsible for storyboarding and directing this episode is Masato Mitsuka, who is actually really new with this show, making his debut only in episode 94. Since then he has worked on episode 102, 110 and 118. Toei really trusted him, and we cannot say that this man did not deliver in 110. Despite being very new with the show, his work was astonishing and something that we all will be waiting to be repeated on some future episodes of Dragon Ball Super. So now let's jump to the Animation Supervisor. Unlike episode 109, surprisingly enough, Dragon Ball Super episode 110 had only 2 supervisors, them being Onishi, for whom I talked before, and the guy that has quite a weird relationship with the Dragon Ball fan base, Naoki Tata, but Tata is well known. Some of the fans don't like his style and some die for it. Naoki Tate is old school Dragon Ball animator, worked in Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, as him being one of the first animators in Super where he worked on episode 2. That was his first episode. Naoki Tate is of course responsible for episode 5, but he does not deserve to be hated given to how badly Toei managed the schedule for Super around the beginning. In general, Tate's work is very impressive and he has really shined through. In episode 110, telling everyone that he has been wrongly judged and he's one of the best on the show. He is regular in Dragon Ball Super and I'm looking forward to his next episode, which we don't know when it is going to be. But still, of course, Tate's last episode was not long ago, being Supervisor in episode 180. But worth mentioning on this are Naoto Shishida and Yuya Takahashi, who of course worked as key animators in Dragon Ball Super episode 110. But guys, if that wasn't enough, Dragon Ball Super's first episode in 2018 is going to have Naoto Shishida as a storyboarder while Yuya Takahashi will be animation supervisor, so make sure you look forward to that because it is going to be great. Now that we left the stuff behind and explained it everything on there, I can go to the main point of this video explaining why Dragon Ball Super Special was better than we actually thought or think it is. This special episode, or 109 and 110, really contributed a lot for the show as it put his way forward to it, to the point where I didn't think this show could ever go. Dragon Ball Super has been nothing but amazing when it comes to visuals ever since this episode aired, despite everyone thinking that it could go downhill ever since this episode aired, and I don't know why I keep repeating this. But actually, Toei managed to keep the quality high, and that has given to us very good episodes. The art in general in Tournament of Power has been amazing, but the animation has been too. Dragon Ball Super has been judged ever since it came around about the animation, and rightly so. But what people did not understand is that Toei left behind the bad animation long time ago, but fans still kept calling it bad due to a lack of understanding, or some people just didn't watch the show at all and just wanted to talk about it. But the special episode took down every single opinion that was like that. The animation in Super was fixed long time ago, but sadly never appreciated enough. But still, this alright blew our minds, and it went, and it really left something in our hearts. How many times have you really watched this episode? Or these two episodes? Let me tell you, I have watched it over 5 times. I can't really say for sure, and I know that there are people who have watched it way more than I have. But still, it was a setting stone for Dragon Ball Super to actually work on and get improvement. Dragon Ball Super is full of bad writing, and we all know that. The main issue is lack of manga. The writers have nothing but some bullet points provided by Toriyama to base the story off. It is very hard, but we can say that Toyotaro is quite involved, given to the fact that he admitted that bringing Vegito to the show was his idea and it was done purely for fan service. But still, it is very hard for the writers, and especially since you have different writers, and it is hard to keep the chemistry and consistency, and we see that they don't really work that hard. So I call Dragon Ball Super's writing lazy writing, because I am 100% sure that the writers could do a better job than they have done. The only issue that I have with the writing of Dragon Ball Super special episode, or 109 and 110, was the pace at the beginning of the episode, because it was very slow. Otherwise, it was perfectly done, so I don't really have any other issue. Slow start was never an issue for me, but I just want to say that it could have been done even better. But still, I'm not complaining, because we got one thing that I did not imagine we would ever. Other than that, as I said, the writing was very well. They managed to keep things balanced, because even when Goku got his newfound power, being Ultra Instinct, they did not downplay Jiren and really showed an equal battle between the two. Other thing than that was done correctly is the emotions that the episode showed. All knew that Goku was not really going to die. I'm taking that as an example. Toei really failed to bring such moments in tournament, but actually they did that perfectly well. Because when Goku was stuck on the Spirit Bomb energy, the emotions showed there. When we all thought that Goku was dead, we didn't really think, but the show implemented that, or tried to tell you that. We had emotions. You liked it or not, we had emotions. That was something very good done by Toei, or the writers, Toei writers. So hats off to that, because you really nailed that part. And the writing has been better on Tournament of Power, after 109 and 110. We have to keep that in mind. Not perfect, but better. And still, the purpose of Dragon Ball Super special episode was not actually the fight of Goku versus Jiren, but it was the newfound power of Goku. The biggest focus was on that, which is something that Toei did continue to do, so bringing Ultra Instinct back yet again on the fight between Goku and Kefla. Special episode was the introduction. Episode 116 was a build-up, and sooner or later we will get Ultra Instinct at full flow versus Jiren. Well, most likely we will see massive Ultra Instinct showcased by Goku. The biggest point of all of this is that the setting stone for Dragon Ball Super to continue on was this special episode. And one thing is that we all expected it to be the big climax, so it cannot go any higher than that, and it is going to be only downfall from it. But it actually did not happen that way, and I like to call this Dragon Ball Super's transformation. It began with the special episode, and in general we have seen constant improvement after that, and it will still continue to improve till the end, because as we all know, Dragon Ball Super is not a perfect show. As for 2018, it is looking to be a great year for Dragon Ball in general. I don't want to spoil anything here, so I will lean away from what you have not seen, but it starts with Vegeta vs Jiren, as you have seen from the preview, and some great battles that I won't really talk about. And don't forget that we have Dragon Ball FighterZ game coming out in January. There might be other big plans, but what we know is that we are going to have also the Dragon Ball movie, which is going to concentrate or focus on origins of Saiyan's power, and that is going to be of course on the December of next year, but still something worth waiting for. It is looking great for Dragon Ball, and one question that has been made for such a long time is Dragon Ball Super going to end on 2018? Well, there is always a slim chance, but given to how much effort Toei is putting into the show, don't really hang your hope Dragon Ball Super ending in 2018. I don't think, my opinion is that they kept improving the show, they keep focusing on it more and more, so I don't really think that Dragon Ball Super is going to end anytime soon. One thing that I can tell you for sure is that Dragon Ball Super Tournament of Power, or Universal Survival Arc, better said, because Tournament of Power is part of the Universal Survival Arc, is going to end on March. We don't know when. It could be at the beginning of March, at the end of March, we really don't know, but all what we have confirmation for is that it is going to end on March of 2018. Anyway guys, this was it for 2017. Thanks for being on the channel. I hope you enjoyed my content. I promise I'm gonna continue to work harder and harder to improve myself. So if you can do me a favor, please click that like button. Tell me your opinions down below, and also subscribe with notifications enabled. See you all in 2018.